So thank you again for this session, and this is a session that we want to hear from you for the future themes and ideas on the consultation of the GEF. Like currently with this council meeting, we have the plastic pollution issues. So at the grassroots level, there are many issues are around. So we will share some ideas, but the door is open to discuss, and then you will give your ideas, and then we can make recommendation.
Good morning, everybody. Good afternoon, almost. My name is Pilar Barrera Rey. I work with the GEF Secretariat in the Partnerships Unit. And just maybe to give a bit of background about the topics. So, as you may be aware, the Council approved a new updated vision for engagement with civil society, for GEF to engage with civil society. And as part of that updated vision, there are many areas, but one of them was that Council wanted to hear from civil society during the consultations like this one that happens twice a year before each Council meeting on specific topics of interest not only to CSOs but also to Council. And they wanted input from around the world on certain topics. So the last time in December, the topic was gender and the environment, and the consultations were held here also. And there were many experiences from around the world, from civil society organizations, community-based organizations, indigenous peoples organizations, and they provided inputs to Council regarding gender and the environment. As Sana was mentioning, on this occasion, Council and civil society decided to address the issue of plastic pollution. So and also selected a topic for next Council meeting in December, which is going to be illegal wildlife trade. So that's basically the framework in which we were discussing now, and I'll give the floor now to Sana.
So thank you so much. Actually, when we have a theme in front of us, then it helps us to think about. And today, a lot of good experiences from the world is here to show how they're addressing plastic pollution issues. So that give us a dynamics to how to be more proactive to help these global environmental issues. So currently, for this particular council meeting, we have afternoon, we have a very special session on the plastic pollution issues. So we are going to get your input for the following council meetings in June and December in 2020, because this year December topic is already selected. So one idea is, one colleague from Argentina, he mentioned about the outcome review monitoring. So this is something resilience. So what is resilience? It has different organizations, different definitions, and different meanings to different areas. But the reality is resilience is something that starts after the project implementation completes. So GEF has been doing a lot of work. We are the witness from the full size, medium size, and small grants. There are many other development initiatives that are ongoing. So we want to propose one thematic area, resilience, to see how GEF 7, GEF 8, and future, it can contribute to the resilience. And to make resilience, there need to have a systematic approach. Currently, there is no mechanism. So we can discuss about that. This is one. Second, another idea is we have knowledge management. Currently, what is happening, knowledge management is not in a very much helping way. How? Like sending an email or posting some message on the website, it is not knowledge management, it is information sharing. Knowledge management is something dynamic. And we have experienced GEF 5, 138 projects cancelled because of some issues. So maybe the problem in one country, same problem in another country. If there is a mechanism of knowledge management, same one small problem is affecting many countries. If there is a mechanism that all the countries, all the projects, government, they can access to this one problem I bring on the board, others have the similar problem, they can access to there and solve it. So this is one of the part. How it look like, still it is not quantified. So kindly think about that. Next one is gender and environment, just the last council this addressed. There are many things have been doing. Sustainable development or resilience, whatever the things we do in the project that we need to put into place in a planning level. How many projects we have that consider sex disaggregated data? We talking about capacity building, we talk about sustainable development, we talk about transformation. But we need to start, we need to have a baseline from where we can see what transformation we made. So if we want to make it, then we need to see gender, environment, and the economics of gender mainstreaming. Because when we talk about partnership, participation, gender, or environment, just sitting together, it does not mean the transformation is happening. So we need to define the roles and responsibilities for each and everyone at the stakeholder level, at the institutional level. When we give the roles and responsibilities, then there is the opportunity to monitor, bring the people and institution to make them accountable. So if we want to make it, it will again have to start from the project designing level. So this is some ideas, but I would like to invite my colleague Maria to facilitate, to get your inputs. This is just a sample of 3 points. You may have something even better. Can you give us your ideas, justify, so that it can be convinced? Thank you.
Good morning again, near to good afternoon, like Pilar says. Maria Lechner from Fundación Ecos Uruguay, and a regional focal point for South America, recently nominated. I think first, this is a great opportunity. That's the first time that we can discuss previously the things that we want as civil society organizations, the issues, and it's a year in advance. I mean, that's a time to think, and it's more like a right, it's a responsibility, because it's not only us, it's all civil society around the world just waiting for what we propose now. I mean, this is your time, and we're happy to hear your opinion. Okay.
Ok, merci.
Thank you, Guido Benas. I come from Togo. And I wanted to thank you for this session and for the theme that was chosen for this year. So fighting marine pollution or plastic pollution. Now, as to resilience that we just talked about, it is extremely important. Thank you, Sano. We should be able to look beyond the implementation of a project. How could the project be sustainable? How a project might have deeper impacts with the management of knowledge in communities that might be able then to develop the project after it's been funded. This is something that we cannot manage right now. Each time that we have a project presented, just at the end of such financing, the project has no legs, or it has difficulties while it is being implemented, I said, and there is no strategy to be able to conduct or have the results that we might get, that we might obtain after the project. Why? Because communities that develop their projects, these projects are not being implemented by the communities themselves. When we want to implement a project, we will ask a development committee, for instance, in the village. And it's not themselves, the community, that will develop the project. We will recruit somebody who comes from somewhere else that will present a nice project, and it will be selected. Then the gentleman or the lady will leave because they will be paid on the project concept. Then the community is faced with difficulties in order to carry out the project as designed and as developed, which means that at the beginning of it, there was no real ownership of the communities that identified the project and that were not able to bring about the results from the project. So that was the first step as to resilience. Then, after the monitoring that is in the GEF, what we've seen in our project, we only have 2 phases for monitoring over 2 years. So one comes the first time, when the project is being launched. We see what are the prelim steps, and then we wait for the end of the year to come back and see where we've gotten. And then we have recommendation, and then we wait until the end of the project to have recommendation. Well, thus, the project might very well not keep the objectives that were decided upon. And the GEF, or the coordination of GEF, says that they do not have enough money to come in the field. Whereas this monitoring should really be fundamental. Now, on the issue of plastics, I think that the first idea in our countries, I'm talking about fragile countries, we have to make people aware. Environmental education is a must. Very long time ago, people talked about regulation. In most of coastal countries, we have decrees to limit the production and import of plastic imports that would be non-biodegradable. But right now, in the sub-region, no country has the money in order to have that type of production. We have to find alternatives that would be concrete, that would replace plastic that is non-biodegradable. We launched work with students in schools, pupils in schools, and we've seen that things have started changing in education. For instance, the pupils themselves do not use plastic refuse in schools. They will be using whatever they have made themselves with paper, this type of paper. This is what students and pupils use to come to school instead of plastic. So we have to underline education in an environment to change, because humans are the cause of degradation. They have to be aware, and this is to limit the production or consumption of plastics. We will find a solution. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I have to be very clear. This is a proposal time for what we want to do next year in the 58th Council meeting. And thank you very much for your comment. But to be very specific, and this is everyone have time to make ideas to produce. Thank you. Please, China.
Thank you. My name is He Linghui. Here I represent Toxic Free China, which is focused on chemical management. And I'd like to propose chemical management as the theme for CSO consultations at the 15th Council meeting. As we can see, GEF is not paying much attention to plastic pollution, which is of course quite necessary. But I would like to add that chemical pollution is also quite important and need more attention because they are not as visible as plastics, yet their impact on the ecosystem and on life is not less than plastic pollution. There are some reasons why. Generally speaking, chemical pollutants include persistent organic pollutants, pesticides, herbicides, oil, endocrine disruptive compounds, heavy metals, personal care and pharmaceutical products, and so on. And in some way, CO2, the carbon dioxide, is also chemical pollution. Main evidences have shown that these chemicals can cause serious impacts on life, such as mutation, transgender, cancer, infertility, birth deficit, disease, and even death. Yet, chemical pollution is also highly related with water safety and biodiversity, climate change, forests, and waste management. Yet, also plastics are highly connected with chemical pollution, either because of the degradation process, they will leak some sort of poisonous compounds, and also because of the additives such as BPA and phthalates. Also, plastics, especially microplastics, can absorb chemicals. So, just like the life cycle management of plastics, life cycle management of chemicals is as important. So I'd like to propose chemical pollution as the theme for CSO, as chemical pollution or chemical management as the theme for CSO consultations, hopefully at the next council meeting. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Taina. I just focus, maybe it's more related with what chemicals related with the human health or human ecosystems, maybe, because this is more the trend now, just to see what healthy ecosystem are, because the uses of chemicals. Because we just been have a program, specific programs on chemicals. And please, could you answer this?
Okay, so I'd like to propose chemicals in the water, like PFAS, like personal products, personal care and pharmaceutical products, and also other like pesticides in the water. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Waste of chemicals in water. Yes, please, India.
I'm Tiazali from India.
Yes.
We should have a global network through GEF CSO network is sharing best practice, knowledge product. Also, we should create some fund through private sector. We are put research practice in partners countries.
That's very clear. I have not added anything. Thank you, India. And now Palau.
Thank you. Just want to bring some attention on plastic. For example, on the small island states such as Palau, we don't produce plastics. We have very good control on waste management, but we are we're drowning on the ones that are washing up on our shores, and it's drifting on the water that's polluting the most important fishing ocean habitat in the Pacific, and it's overwhelming our dump sites. And so what we're dealing with is endless. We work with small communities to restore important critical nesting habitats along our coastline, but it doesn't make a difference because the plastic pollutants are actually drifting on the ocean and coming from the big polluters in the Asian side of the current of the ocean current of the world. Thank you.
Thank you, Palau. That means, just to close it here, is pollution in the ocean. I mean, this ocean pollution extracted, yes? Yeah. Yes. Yeah, it's addressed already, no?
You know what I'm saying? That's going
Yes.
to be a very valuable contribution to our discussion this afternoon. Thank you, Anne.
Thank you. Now, who is proposing? Sana, and then Lalit.
Thank you. I am also, I want to, that we talk about chemicals, or especially industrial pollution, and especially in marine area, and because in this way we will involve private sector, industrials, and all the stakeholders concerning with this issue. And we have small examples in our country. We are working in système d'information géographique, information system, geographical system of industrial area, who are, it's a kind of database of this industrial enterprise and what kind of pollution they have and the impact on marine area. Thank you.
Thank you, Sana. Let's taking note. Now I have Lalit, and after.
First of all, I would like to thank council members and GEF Secretariat for choosing such type of themes, because this is putting CSO consultation vibrancy. Because every time we have new themes and we have discussion, but I would like to suggest how to make it better, because we have chosen these themes 6 months before and sometime beyond that. So if GEF CSO network is permitted to have wider discussion during the 6 months and have some draft document prepared before this council meeting, and that document will be discussed along with the discussion going on here, and after that we will have some publication on that, so the results will be taken to the wider circulation among the stakeholders. Regarding the theme for the next council meeting, I would propose land degradation, because everything can be created, but no lab is developed yet which can create land or soil. And this is a limiting factor in our earth, and due to the urbanization and industrialization, it is shrinking, and with the pollution, it is again limiting. So if land degradation will be taken up, this will not only affecting biodiversity and other thematic areas of the GEF. So this is the basic resource which need to be conserved. So my proposal is for the land degradation. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Lalit. This land degradation is something that really it was mentioned today from Naoko with the agriculture system, and how can we convert that in a better practices.
No, I just had a question for Lalit. Land degradation is very broad. I mean, it's a focal area, and so if you can maybe be more specific.
So land degradation in the agriculture sector, because this is affecting the food security as well.
But have to be related with communities or small communities or specific areas. I mean, because it's a convention, specific convention.
And CSOs are working in the community level, so the agriculture and land degradation.
Yeah, thank you. You are first, friend. Yeah.
Thank you. It's related to the chemical topic already suggested. If may suggest to add. I don't know if they.
Yeah.
Okay, it's related to the chemical topic already suggested. If I am allowed to add on that topic, food consumption and food production related to chemicals, particular POPs and the PCBs. Why I mention this? When we address the chemicals issue in terms of agriculture, for instance, we need to bring solution for the food production and food consumption, alternative solutions to avoid pesticides and chemicals. Thank you.
Thank you. This is the same idea, and the I want to highlight that you can't just follow the others' ideas and just concentrate on what is the CSO's contribution in these specific areas. I mean, just be more associated with our communities. Thank you. Now, Jeremy.
Yes. I would like to suggest that we may think about a system that would enable us, a system that would be permanent for sharing of our experiences that would be successful, because we do not have millions to pay for people to come here and have an exchange of ideas. But if we were to be able to find a system or mechanism that whatever is being done in Togo might be shared in the whole world, around the world, so that people be inspired by it and try and do something in their own country at their own level, I think that would be very helpful for all of us. So this is fundamental in my eyes. Second thing, we talked about an evaluation here, or evaluations here. We should really think, or rather the organization of civil society should change their state of mind. Each time that we have a project, we think that that those who are the financiers should help us to assess it or do an evaluation of it. Whereas we know that when the program or the project is ended, it would be difficult for the institution to come back and help us in this. We should think in another way. How could we make sure that there will be monitoring of a project that we have implemented that did get an impact that would be tangible in a longer term? What we're trying to do in our NGO would be to say, we have had such activities, it's ended, we have had the evaluation, that is an official evaluation, but still, the other activities that should be carried out in the same region or in the same locality where the first project was evaluated and assessed, we will give a mandate to people who go in the field. Where are we with these compared to the first project? When we have a result or something positive immediately, even if it were 5 years later, we will share it with the institution that helped us in the first place with the project. So we have to think about a system that would be simpler, less expensive, that would enable us to keep on with our exchanges in the longer term as to the experiences that were successful. Thank you.
Yes. Now, yes, the following one. One thing, I need just to be very clear on on what you propose. It have to be a specific issue. Gracias.
Good afternoon. Just want to say thank you. I am Hassani Williamson. I represent a non-government organization by the name of Zero Waste Antigua and Barbuda. I also operate a recycling company, more in the focus of recycling metals. My interest in plastic pollution has come about based on my observation of what's happening underground in Antigua. And while we are making efforts to remove pollutants, plastic pollutants from the environment, and while we're making big steps towards that and small steps towards that from the private sector standpoint, I realize that the problem reoccurs and it reoccurs and it reoccurs. I think important to this move to fight this menace is the need to educate and wake up the consciousness of the people from the grassroots level. that would help us tremendously in terms of building participation and also to have sustainable solutions in place that is supported by all stakeholders across the board. My recommendation here as a CSO or a member of a NGO organization and in our collaborative efforts with GEF, who has been very supportive of our initiatives in many different ways, is that we seek to deepen our collaboration along the lines of how can we keep this subject and the impacts that it has on our lives at the forefront in the minds of the people. Quite often, we see campaigns on the television and it's on the radio, but shortly after that, it dies. As a CSO, and on the mission to influence change, we would like to have that aspect of information and education and public awareness more on the forefront. And so we're limited. We're limited in the sense of our resources as a government, as a community organization. And so in our collaboration, how can GEF and groups like ours work together in terms of guiding that information, knowledge sharing in our community in a more sustainable way, whether it be from a resource standpoint, financially, whether it be by technical expertise. I would love to see that integrated approach taken so that we can work together as far as bringing home the objectives locally on the ground.
Thank you. India, and let's be very specific because we are running out of time. We are just using the time. Is someone want to propose something? This is your time.
Thank you. I'll be crisp and short. Thanks to the GEF Secretariat and the GEF CSO network. What I'm trying to say here is that somebody used the word sustainable production and consumption systems. There is a huge amount of resource use which is taking place in the world all over, in every country, in trillions of metric ton. If I have to say India, we are using about 10 trillion tons of resource in metal and non-metal and in other forms. And that resource can be largely recycled. And I think so we are talking about plastics and we are talking about this, but I think we as an initiative need to put the effort into resource efficiency, resource use, which can be setting up authorities for recycling, which also looks into one is the resource use and efficiency. Second, it also takes care of the most impoverished and the most neglected sector. People who are involved, marginalized, and are involved in this sector of collection, segregation, and recycling. So the investments, the incentives, the taxes need to be built around them, and probably we need to arc out a separate sector into the recycling authorities within the systems.
Thank you. Thank you to be very concrete. Palau again, but it has to be very short.
Yes, I'd like to propose to the agenda for the next consultation, loss of biodiversity as a result of mining or extractive development.
Thank you, Palau.
So thank you so much for these inputs, and we got really very good suggestions. Thank you for this. We have chemicals. This is impacting to our lives. We have land degradation, so agriculture and life. We have resilience. We have knowledge management, we have gender, economics of gender mainstreaming for sustainable development. We have a couple of very good items. So we will work on it and then we will update you based on the consultation and acceptance from the council and the GEF secretary. So we will be updating you. Thank you so much again for your time, and now there will be a logistic note from someone?
From me.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you so much. So we're wrapping up this session. Like Sano said, we're going to work with the network and with you, all of you, to see which ones will be proposed. But there are many other council meetings happening, so I think we can address them all in sequence, maybe. No, just a logistics note. Thank you so much to the network for organizing this. And just a logistics note. So now we're going to break for lunch from 12:30. Well, it's 12:40 already, but from 12:30 until 2. But please, we're going to move for the second half of the consultations, which is on plastic pollution. And we have a very, very interesting agenda with many of you already preparing to provide inputs to council and to all of us on plastic pollution and solutions from private sector, CSOs, and the government. That session will not take place here, as you can see from the agenda. It will take place in room MC2800. So please finish your lunch well in time, like 10 to 2, and move to that meeting room. It's on the second floor of the same building. You have to go to the lifts or elevators that are at that end and go to the second floor, and you will see MC2800. It's a conference room. It's much smaller than this, but there will be plenty of space for everybody. Again, MC2800. And if you have any doubt, just look for any one of us and we can guide you. Please be punctual because we have a very interesting program that is going to last until 6:15, 6:30. So we'll see you there and have a good lunch. The lunch is here at the atrium. Just go out and you will see it's right there. Thank you.